The 88 Commission rifle, the whole story. I'm going to make a series of videos trying to clarify a lot of the questions or misconceptions about this gun and its place in history. Most people make a video and they give you like a paragraph's worth of information about it and shoot the gun and that's about it, which everybody knows that. But I found that the history of this firearm, where it's been used and the amount of time it's been used, is pretty amazing. It was developed by the Germans in the 1880s after the French developed smokeless powder. In 1886, the Lebel rifle. I don't have one of those to compare, but once I get one in my collection, we'll do an examination of that. Well, the French and the Germans were constantly at odds and fought several wars, and two interesting things happened at this time. Germany actually became unified as a country, other than a group of states, city-states, and other things, about this time, about the 1860s, 1870s, I'm not quite sure. If you get the book, this book here, if you purchase this book and if you're really interested in this rifle, I suggest you should buy it. You can get it on Amazon.com. It isn't that expensive. He goes into the whole history of the German state, how it came about, how it was unified, how they were forward thinking, and Prussian military took control more or less, and they kind of made a modernized army with different ideas, which actually made the German army very successful in some wars. And it kind of had a lot to do with the design of this gun. Now, this gun was designed in a hurry by the Germans to, much like the Cold War, an arms race. The French had smokeless powder rifles, the Germans had to have something comparable, and they needed it now. So this gun was designed by commission, set up by the government. And they basically, and I'll go over each area, the receiver, the barrel jacket, the magazine, all that. And I'm going to make a video hitting on each point, because each one has a pretty interesting story of how they come about. And the ammunition, the 8mm Mauser. Well, this was put together, this was all new technology, and all of this was brand new, you know, more or less assembled, put together, a cartridge, a gun, a rifle, and a weapon system, and off it went. And there were problems. Smokeless powder was new. Okay, nobody really knew much about it, or, you know, the fact that it broke down. And over the service life of this gun, there were several changes to the ammunition, several changes to the rifle itself in terms of the barrel and the rifling in the barrel, okay, because there were problems. And of course, when you change the ammunition, you change the sights. These guns did explode. They did have problems. People were injured. There were failures, catastrophic failures, with these weapons when they were first developed. And over time, certain things were done and modified, and they did it in a haphazard way. Some of the earlier guns, like this one, were modified one way or the other, either with depth of rifling or some other things. And they tried it as a stopgap measure. In other words, you know, it cost money to make these. And just to scrap them and, you know, make a whole new rifle, they tried to save money by doing modifications to the guns to make them work. And within 10 or 12 years, the Mauser 98 rifle was chosen as a standard gun, which is a far superior gun. There was a lot of leaps and bounds in technology and design changes. But even though this gun stayed in service with the Germans, ironically, when they first started the war, the first 2 years of the war, frontline troops were issued these rifles because they didn't have enough Mauser 98 models to arm all the frontline troops. This rifle was also sold as surplus or excess, whatever, or given as, before the war, you know, they were given away as war reparations, and that's how it ended up in a lot of foreign hands. But these also were sold as they were taken out of service and being replaced with the Mauser 98 rifle. China was a large purchaser of this. And during World War I, when the Ottoman Empire, or Turkey as it's called now, allied itself with the Germans, they were given a lot of these guns. They were given a lot of these guns by the Germans. I think some ended up as war reparations. That's how the Italians and a lot of countries in North Africa and that ended up with these guns. These guns were also sold on the market, the open market, to countries in South America. The Irish Republican Army, or the Irish rebellions of the first part of the 1900s there, they bought a bunch of these guns. They were available to South Africans during the Boer War. These guns were there. Germany had African colonies, so they ended up being spread out in the different sections of Africa. There were some of these commercially made in 7mm, which were sold to Brazil, Chile, numerous South American countries as little small contracts, you know, private contracts. And again, the Chinese were given a bunch of the German ones, and then plus they manufactured a variant of this themselves. So this gun was all over the world and used by numerous foreign countries, and also stayed in service. They found these in the hands of the Chinese in the Korean War in the 1950s during the fighting the U.S. had there in Korea. So these were still being used till the 50s, probably for reserve troops, but they're still being used. And I guess in the book he said that somebody during in the Persian Gulf confiscated an 88 style rifle off of a fishing boat that was coming too close to an oil rig offshore there. That actually in the Middle East and Afghanistan and that, these guns still are used to this day. So it's a lot to say about it. It's an interesting piece. And like I said, they're pretty common. They're easy to find. They're not too terribly expensive. You have to discern from the ones that have been modified. Now this one here, and I'll explain to you usually with the white receiver to you, close to original, and over the years how the different modifications have taken place. And the modifications go all the way to where the action is just used. I have one Turkish gun that was refurbished in 1938, I believe. And actually the only thing it uses is the receiver and the magazine housing. Barrel, sights, everything, stock's all been different. So they've been extensively used, and there's a lot of variations, a lot of modifications, and the most difficult thing is I'll show you how to tell which one is which and how to decide if your gun's safe to shoot. And a lot of people say that the gun isn't rated for modern 8mm ammo. That's debatable. If you have a reinforced bore, the gun is head spaced right, or a reinforced barrel, I'm sorry. The gun's head spaced right. These guns were used up in the World War II, and you know, they probably could handle it, you know, depending on what type of ammo. If you're using good ammo. I fired surplus ammo in these guns knowing what the groove diameter was and had no trouble with them. Or if you don't want to take the risk and want to use cast bullets, I have different videos on where I make cast bullets for these guns. I'm working on different loads for these here. So then that way you're guaranteed 100% in the safe zone. I even developed an underpowered jacketed bullet cartridge for this gun also. So what I'm going to do is put in the video response section each other different video. I'm going to make one like on the receiver, the barrel jacket, the magazine system, and that. And I'm going to break down and give a real good detailed explanation of each different feature of this gun and try to shed some light on it and eliminate a lot of the confusion. Okay.